we heal through witnessing other women in their full expression.
But the body as an instrument is going to be the greatest oracle because of the sensitivity, because of the way we feel so deeply again. That's how we know yes, no, left, right.
The more that we lean into the things that made us not cool or like that we wanted to hide because it was different.
What is the edge where the body starts to go into that contraction?
Welcome. I'm really grateful to get to be here with you in person. And I've been, just following your teachings and your journey for quite some time now. And one of the things that I just really love about your work and admire is the depth, like the real depth and the nuance that you teach. And I feel like there's so many people teaching about energy and embodiment, and there is such a unique lane that you have created incorporating things like sacred theater and shadow work. So I love the compilation of the ways that you teach. And I'd love to hear, just to start, like what feels most alive right now for you in your work with your clients?
Well, first of all, thank you. I really appreciate receiving that reflection. One of my favorite things is innovation and learning how to innovate in a world where we're really bouncing around in regurgitation land. And it's quite easy to do when people are wanting to be coaches and teach and lead and see what others have done that works and replicate it. But that's regurgitation, and it's been really important to me from the get-go to always receive, but then alchemize, always receive, and then create something new, and then build upon it and see where it wants to move and where it wants to go. And something that feels really alive. Well, for a while now, the word unhinged has found me. Like for like a year, people were writing on all my videos, so unhinged. And I think that the word unhinged itself is making moves. I don't think it's just in my world, but I was receiving a lot. And I was like, oh, I should create something called Unhinged to like teach women how to create art and how to be unfuckwithable through the art process. And it's interesting. I was looking at some old reels today. I was doing some research for some stuff, and I went all the way back to 2022. And I had made this comedy reel taking a piece of criticism, a comment, and I made art out of it. And then my caption was, when you make art, you're unfuckwithable. So even like all the way back in 2022, I was like writing about that. So it hasn't changed too much, but the twist and the way that I'm really moving with it right now is how to create unhinged art. And that doesn't necessarily mean weird or immature or wacky. It's unhinged is refined. And it's a very specific channel of power and of sight. And I think it's oracular and revolutionary, at least in our own individual worlds. And it gets to be a reclamation.
Yeah, you use comedy a lot to share about topics that can be sometimes more taboo or kind of cliche in a way, and you bring so much life like through your art and through your comedy to these conversations, like you said, that maybe other people might be having, but you bring a new spin on it. And I'm curious, have you always been into comedy and art and theater? Is that something that has come more alive for you in recent years? Tell me more about that.
I mean, when I was young, I was doing like community theater and like, I was in Star Wars. I was in Star Wars. Actually, this is important. I was in Star Wars and I was the only girl Jedi. I was like, I'm going to be a Jedi. And then they did not want to have a girl Jedi. It was Jedis were for boys. And I remember just making my case. I was dead set on it. I was like 9 years old and I got in there. It was me and 4 boys. So I think when I was young, I was like really interested in like the fun kid theater.
Yeah.
As I got older, I stopped being super interested in it. But my family has always been really like fiery. We're all very fiery. We talk over each other. And I didn't know that my family was like so spicy and were quite funny. And I just didn't realize that, like just the uniqueness. And I think I repressed a lot of particularly my dad's uniqueness. My dad has a lot of just, he's such a character, major character. You could like write about him in a book. Just very different. And the qualities that are my dad, it's been a big reclamation for me to embrace those parts, because a lot of my comedy and my absurdity has actually come from him. And it was only once I started to bring that into my work and allow that in my teachings and my containers that my business exploded. I mean, I've been doing this since I was 18 years old. Really long time. So it has not been an overnight thing. But when I started to bring more comedy in and bring even a little absurdity and just silliness, but do it in my own way, my business definitely took off. And I felt like I was expanding in ways, and I was really finding myself through being playful. And actually, I didn't even know I was making comedy at first, which is actually kind of sad and kind of funny. I was just making videos and everyone thought they were funny. And I was like, oh, wait, am I making funny stuff? Like, I had no idea. I was actually being quite serious.
Which is my favorite, honestly, when people are just like funny because that's like their quirkiness or that's part of their personality. And then it's not because they're trying to be funny.
Yes. Yeah. I was like, I'm going to teach you guys something very serious. Like, watch me teach this. And everyone was like, oh my God, girl, it's so funny. And I was like, oh, wow, cool. I'll do more of that style of teaching.
Yeah.
And then eventually I was like, oh, I'm really going to lean into this.
Yeah. I have so found that the more that we lean into the things that maybe even like when we were younger that made us not cool, or like that we wanted to hide because it was different. Right. And the more that you actually embrace that, which does require a lot of self-acceptance and working through our fears of judgment and all of the different societal layering that we have as women, and just in this day and age, it's like when we can start to unpack that and move through those layers and come to the center and the core of who am I without all of that, and what parts of me have I been hiding or suppressing? And the beautiful thing is that you're showing is like, and then you create art with that and people are drawn to it. They're magnetized to it. And to me, there's something like there's a truth, right? It's like, this is a part of you that wants to be expressed. And when you're expressing it and allowing it to come through, there's like this energetic exchange that's happening, and people are like leaning in and interested in it. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's also something really special about the feeling when you make something. Maybe you know this feeling when you make something and you're kind of entranced by yourself. You're like, wow, look at me go. I want everyone to have that feeling, because not everyone, but a lot of people are like really struggling to be seen. It's a huge place of insecurity for so many women. The deep, 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 deep craving to be seen, and the absolute fear of being seen. And a stepping stone to bigger cosmic ways of being seen is social media. It is a stepping stone to the stage, to actually doing something in front of a lot of eyes in person. And the reason why so many people are seeking validation first, and we get into a really kinked relationship here. When you want to be seen, you're afraid of being seen, you need the validation, all this stuff starts to happen. And when you really start to create art because it lights you up, because it sounds fun, it sounds a little edgy, and you do it, and a beautiful thing happens when you watch yourself and you're like, wow, you don't care even if people like it or don't like it, because you're feeling what it's like to actually receive your own medicine.
To see yourself.
And you're like proud of yourself because you made something that was dope. You're like, oh, and I'm going to put this out into the world. And it's a really beautiful cycle. And then like being seen, you do that for yourself. And eventually it starts to, your capacity begins to expand, and then you have new edges to play with.
Yeah, for me, it's been first, it started happening with photo shoots and finding different ways that I wanted to like express myself, and starting to be like, oh, I actually really enjoy this. It feels like art when I'm co-creating with a photographer and trying on these different looks and these different poses, and being in that exploration of being seen from the lens of the camera. And then as I've evolved into more deepening of my sensuality, and when I was younger, I was a dancer and then strayed away from it. Sounds similar to like acting for you. And I came back to that. and really reclaimed that part of myself. And similarly, when I watch some of my videos dancing, it's not because I'm like, oh, I'm an amazing dancer. That's why I'm looking at it and like looking at the technique, but it's like, oh, I'm in my expression. And that's what feels inspiring. And I think that the feminine wants, like you said, the feminine inside of us deeply wants to be seen in our fullest range, in our fullest expression, which could look like through our art, but it could also look like in our emotions and in our inner landscape, the energy that moves through us. So I know you do a lot of work with women to help them to really unlock that authentic expression, and specifically in the realm of emotions and in intimacy and being seen in that by a partner or by someone else. So yeah, I'd love to explore that together. Like, why is it so important for women to really meet their edges and allow themselves to feel fully?
Yeah. Why? That's what most of us are seeking. We're seeking being in communion with life itself. And there's been this hyper focus we put into our partner seeing us, our partner really seeing all the different facets and sides of ourselves. But it's actually never really been about our partner seeing us. Yes, that's important. But what most women are craving is to know that they have the capacity to show themselves, to bring that. Whether or not he sees it or she sees it, it's just knowing, oh, I'm capable of this level of expression, of energy, of exploring and experiencing every single nook and cranny of what my body has to offer. Because the body is an instrument. And most of us are using just a couple different ways to make music on that instrument.
Couple notes.
We're playing a couple notes, and there's an entire spectrum. There's a cosmic scale that is possible. And when we start to embody, explore, and live with those different perspectives and be able to actually fill out the body, our aliveness stops plateauing. Like how much life we can actually experience, how much energy we can embody, right? And being feminine beings, as you know, we are energy. The feminine is energy. It's literally what it is. The feminine essence is Shakti. It's life force. And this is not where our life force exists. And the whole cycle begins to happen when our energy begins to flow into this area, like
Our
leaves
head.
this area. Yes, for those listening, it's the head. When it starts to flow up, we start to be disconnected from, the root. Our partner then doesn't actually feel us, can't feel us. We can't feel our partner. And a resentment cycle begins to form, right? So a lot of times a masculine being is craving to plug into the feminine because of the level of feeling she has. Not just sexually, but also how are you experiencing all of life? Like that is your oracle. So when we talk about the oracle archetype, for example, which a lot of people are, it's like popping off, like the oracle and my partner's
The oracle and the muse, I feel like are having a
their
moment.
moments. Yeah. I mean, the oracle is very near and dear to my heart because it's taken a lot of time to get there, like to really, really, really get there. And to be in the state of the oracle, we have to be in touch with our impulse and our instinct. And that isn't in the mind. And so most of us are walking around trying to be oracles from here, from strategizing and thinking. But the body as an instrument is going to be the greatest oracle because of the sensitivity, because of the way we feel so deeply. Again, that's how we know yes, no, left, right. It's because of being deeply attuned to energy moving through our system, through our body. And the mind is in support with that. The mind helps unpack that and articulate that. And it's an ingredient in relationship that is so magnetizing. A woman's full aliveness, her fire. I mean, that's a big element in my work is like, I'm just like bringing so much fire because a lot of times we were like full of a lot of water.
Yeah.
And the fire is a beautiful element, and also the water and the earth and the air, all of the different elements. So to answer your question, it's it's full spectrum aliveness. And it's so that we know ourselves. And that knowing of the self is then ultimately brought into partnership in all of its different flavors and forms.
So beautiful. I love that. The really the deep desire to know ourselves and to really feel that capacity that we have as feminine beings to move the energy through our body and to feel it all. And that can be really scary for a lot of people. And there's a piece of safety that I think that even from a young age, because of our conditioning, that it's not safe to actually feel it all. It's not safe to meet those edges of bringing that bigness, bringing that fire, bringing that water even into the space outside of us. And so there is often a guarding that happens, a protecting that happens in our nervous systems. And I'd love for you to talk a little bit more. How does nervous system play into self-expression and feeling the aliveness in your body?
Yeah. Something that's great for a lot of people to think about, to ponder, is if they've had any performance trauma, any being on the spot trauma, like being forced to be in front of a group when they were actually a no, or be forced to, do something or say something they were a no to. My childhood is full of those experiences. So many experiences, trying out for cheerleader and freezing in front of all the other cheerleaders and being made fun of because I forgot my cheer because I had stage fright. Being pulled up in front of 500 kids. There was like a big Barney animal that grabbed me out of the whole audience and took me all the way up to the stage, did not consent to that, in front of tons of people, and then started throwing me in the air. And just like the stranger in a costume. It was terrifying. And then other things that were like incredibly challenging, that was even younger in age, in front of people, and just like things that I was, clearly a no to. And there are these moments that get really stuck in our nervous system. Like they imprint. It is trauma. It is trauma. And the thing that we anchor in as the most trauma is being seen. It's a experience when I'm not consenting. I'm not consenting to this experience, and it gets lodged in that being seen is that. And we don't have all these other experiences to add to it. And the only time that that's really true is when we're a kid. When we're a kid and we can't protect ourselves. And as adults, we get to remember that, I'm no longer a kid, so I actually have the choice and have the ability to reprogram that and repattern that should I choose. And what doors is that going to open up if I actually choose that? Being able to public speak, being able to finally hold containers with hundreds of people, being able to expand. How much energy can I take on my body? Can I take 10 people's eyes on my body? Can I take 100 people's eyes on my body? And continuing to just, even now, like yogically expand to feel the essence of 1,000 people staring you down, feeling you, watching you, and receive that and be like, oh, that's maybe my edge. Like, what is the edge where the body starts to go into that contraction? So there are moments like that, the history that I shared, but there's also moments where there was a need to express as a child. Maybe you were in pain, and out of fear that got shut down. For example, when I was little, I had this, I don't know what they're called. It's like one of those devices that connects a boat to a truck.
Okay.
It's like you like to take it somewhere, if we're gonna go to the lake.
Yeah.
It's like the thing,
a little hitch.
It's like a little
of some
hitch,
sort.
yeah. When I was young, my dad's hitch was in the garage, and oftentimes one of my experiences as a kid was wrong time, wrong place. And I was in the garage looking at trinkets, just whatever. I was just walking around, and I saw that, and I like touched it, and it fell and it hit my pinky toe. And I was very, very, very young. And because my dad was right there, I stifled this cry. I would not allow myself to scream. I was in so much pain. My pinky toe turned black. It was so much pain. And as a little kid, I still was like, this isn't safe. I'm going to be yelled at. If, my dad's great. It's just like, he's doing the best he could. And I think a lot of times for dads who are really figuring it out along the way, like that's how they're projecting their anger because they feel so bad that they didn't take care of you in that moment. And I think my dad would do that sometimes because he'd feel terrible. He didn't take care of me. So he would take that terror and yell at me. And I didn't understand any of that, obviously. But that scream got locked in time. So that was like the unscreamed scream. That when I was little, it just like stored in my body. And it wasn't until like probably 2 years ago, I was doing a journey and that scream came to me. And I was in the presence of my beloved at the time. And we were like having a journey and I was like, oh, I need to narrate this experience. Like I'm 9 years old. I'm in the garage. And he was like, give me the scream. What is the scream you never got to do? And I just let it out like this huge scream, followed by like, help, dad, like all this stuff, everything that was like locked in time.
Wow.
That I got to revisit, as an adult, being responsible because I've got, this is tying in hopefully to everybody can like think about that moment in their life where something got locked in. That moment is the key to the entire realm of being seen you could ever want. Those moments where it got locked in, and we get to recreate those scenes. We get to find creative ways to rewrite those scenes or to relive those scenes as adults, knowing that we are totally safe and we're taking care of ourselves by doing this. But I think it's a worthy practice to be able to claim those moments and revisit them and then relive them with the correct form of expression that you didn't have when you were a kid.
Yeah. And is this like the part of your work that you would call sacred theater? Is that the...
Yes, there's sacred theater. I give it a very wide berth of how it is done. And I'd be happy to share that now.
Yeah.
Firstly, let me say that theater is our oldest religion. Theater is the oldest religion. It is how humans have been coming together and making sense of the world forever, for as long as we have had fire. And fire is how we started to gather. Without fire, we weren't gathering as humans. We had no power. We had no points of contact. And the minute somebody created fire, all of a sudden people started to gather, which is when we gained power and cities and community and formed language. And that's when we also started to create theater and be able to tell stories. And theater isn't only the way we see it now, which is these actors on a stage. It's also very shamanic. It's deep energy work. It's the process of shape shifting. So the shamans in cultures would go through an excruciating bone-breaking process of shape shifting so that they knew what was happening with the seasons. So if you want to understand winter, you may become a bear. If you really want to understand the coldness of winter and what's needed during winter, the precautions to take and the measurements, you want to become bear. And so through journeying and shamanic practices, they would go through this excruciating process of shape-shifting into animals. And that in itself is a form of theater. That is sacred theater of going through that. We also shapeshift. Trauma shapeshifts us. Actors shapeshift. They become these different beings. You see Meryl Streep, you're like, how the heck do you, how are you so many beings? But it's an actual process of shifting. Like you'll see that their face begins to morph and to change. The voice change. And when the voice changes, their entire energetic blueprint will begin to shift. The presence of someone begins to shift when they go through a process of embodying a different transmission. So I say all of that. If I want to serve women in actual transformation, we need to go through a shape-shifting process where they become something else to further understand themselves and to quantum leap, so to say, in a very ancient way. So at my event Unbound, my signature event, one of the things that we lead up to is sacred theater. And sometimes it's a reclamation moment. So if, let's say, someone was abused as a child, they may have the floor to create a theater enactment of the second chance monologue, the thing they never got to say to the abuser. Maybe they will have a moment to do a rite of passage in front of all of us so that we can witness that. Maybe they will be given a shape-shifting practice, something that they can perform, something they can do. And oftentimes I will give my students 1 to 2 words. It's very, very brief. So I'll just tell them Lilith, or the death of the mother, or the unborn child. And maybe I know a little bit about their history. So maybe somebody didn't have the child that they thought they were going to have. I might give her that assignment.
Wow.
Like, I want you to do a piece for the unborn child. It's meant to make you gulp. You're meant to go through an experience knowing you're about to be seen in something that is so tender. I will find what is so tender for you, and I will give you the floor for 3 minutes to create something. And it's not singing, it's not dancing. It is an actual theater piece where you are showing a story. And what always happens is there is a shape-shifting process. I mean, when there's 35 women sitting down watching one woman at a time do her performance, it's phenomenal, not only because of what she's creating, but it's a partnership between the artist and the witnesses. It is not the same if you were to do that in your bedroom. It is the actual experience of people watching you with reverence, all eyes on you. That does so we could say an energetic, or we could say a somatic shift in your body where you go, oh, that. And then there's so much space in the body because this thing that they have been carrying that has been repressed and shamed and like just covered with so much human shit finally gets to be, and it's just pure truth, the pure energetic of it. No story, no human stuff piled on top, just this is the expression. It's clean, it's crisp, it's art, and it's very real. And then from that experience of, let's say, doing sacred theater or shape-shifting, they have gnosis. So gnosis is wisdom of the heart. So moving out of like, oh, I know about the thing now. I know about the trauma. No. You have wisdom in your being about the trauma. And now it's no longer just trauma. It's something that a lot of times people find like juice in. They're like, ooh, this is my dharma. This is not something that just happened to me. This is like purposeful. And what else is here? This is great. There's like excitement that actually begins to form.
It sounds like such a healing experience and container, even for people who are watching that. It sounds like there would be a lot of just resonance of maybe even similar storylines and similar themes, maybe not the same exact experience. But as women, what I find is that when we do come together in these really powerful healing containers, is that we heal through witnessing other women in their full expression. And there's a shared collective field of healing that happens that, like you said, doesn't happen when we're at home in our bedroom, maybe doing like some chat GPT therapy, right? Which is so common nowadays, more recently.
Yeah. I was just talking to somebody yesterday. This is tangent, but I was just like, we're right now in the moment where we're tipping into dependency on this new thing. You know, it's always interesting when there's a new thing and then you're tipping into that moment of like not even imagining a time when you didn't have it.
Yes.
We're in that right
It's kind of like, my grandfather will share with me that, once we first started having telephones, and then it was, cell phones and computers, and, he lived in a time where all of this has happened, and we're very much, I think, in our lifetime tipping into a whole new realm. And I think that especially as conscious beings and people who are, bringing awareness and intention to the way that we want to live, just like anything, we get to be intentional about what is our relationship with this technology, right? And there's benefits to it, and there's things that are going to add a lot of value to our lives, and then there's parts that are going to be really shadowy and that are going to drain some life force energy from us.
Yeah, make us dumb, make us dependent, like the art piece. I'm even noticing just like, oh, can you please give me 30 ideas for blah, blah, blah? And I'm like, whoa.
Where did my brain, what was my brain doing before I had this?
And yes, and it's just, I can feel the biochemistry. I can feel something starting to loosen, and then something's, it's just, it's interesting. And I'm really wanting to presence it, especially for all the artists out there. Just like, how about you give yourself a practice of like, before you go there, spend 10 minutes on your own to see what happens in 10 minutes, and then you can go into that.
Yep. Intention.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. As we're talking about sacred theater, it's actually bringing me back to our first conversation when I had you on the show after you released your book, Artist of Love. And I remember reading that and reading about some of the scenes that you've created. And it was really the first time that I learned about sacred theater. And to be honest, even for myself, it feels like such an edge because my world, I mean, I haven't associated or felt called to theater before. And so it's like this whole realm, like I've felt very much called to like dance and writing in the form of expression. And as you're sharing, I'm like, oh, wow, that would be so potent, right? It would be such an edge of like, oh my God, I'm not good at that. But that's not the point, right? To be good at it.
Oh no, I want you to
be real.
I want you to be shit at it. I want you to just fuck it up so hard and then just smear mud in it and just be like the sacred fool in all the ways. Yeah. And like I have mostly teachers, leaders, facilitators come to Unbound. Nobody is like, I mean, a couple people actually have had acting backgrounds, but for the most part, everybody is like a teacher of some sort. You know, then they're just like, I know this is terrifying and good for me. And I'm here. And it's always a process of like wanting to get it right and wanting to do it right. And it's one of my favorite things, just to create a field literally of like, you can't fuck it up. And I want to see all of it. Give me all of it. And make this like the space for the chaos, the space for the not knowing, the space for spilling outside of the lines.
And in order for you to hold that space, it means that you have had to go there for yourself and be willing to be in that messiness and the chaos and not getting it right, which is why you have the ability to hold that for other women.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I find in the containers that things that I've done, participated in, being seen, and also again, like social media has been a really incredible way because never before have we had the experience of so many eyes being on us in any given moment. In any given moment, millions of people could be watching you. Like, I mean, it just could happen. Millions. And it's not like this practice lives in our parents and we, like we receive from our lineage how to do things. We know how to do things intuitively because of our lineage, because we've received that, both the great things and the pain bodies, the witch wound, you know? But this one of like being able to be seen so intensely, like online, or have so many people have access to us at any given moment, it doesn't exist. And so we're having to create much stronger energetic boundaries. And I think, at least in my experience, it's been an amazing way to thicken the skin in the ways that you want and to give less shits in the ways that you want and to be seen in all of your unkempt glory.
Yeah, I've been having a lot of fun witnessing you in that, and like you being in that is such a permission giver for other women. And I just really want you to know that. I know that you have a lot of people who are really engaging with your content, and it's unhinged and in such a powerful and permission giving way.
Thank you. Yeah.
I feel like there's so many different layers. I feel like the final piece that I want to dive into for today is around shadow work, because I feel like it's also something that, similar to embodiment or somatics or nervous system, like all these things, it's a common phrase, but I would love to hear like your lens of how you relate to shadow work and your perspective on how women can use that to create more wholeness within themselves.
Yeah. Well, the first thing I'll say, which may or may not be a popular belief, you know, I've just seen so many people talk about shadow work to me in a way that I do not agree with. It's not covering the depth of it. And even what I'm about to say is not covering the depth of it. That's what I'll say. I do not know everything. And what I'm about to say is not the depth of it. It's like shadow work is incredibly energetic. And it includes beings of their own that will always be quite mysterious. But what I do know is that shadow work is less about all the ways that we're not like in our power. It's not about like, I don't love myself enough. It's deeper and it's darker and it's much more ancient than that. I believe that shadows are beings. They're entities. It's like animism. It's like an oak tree has a personality. So does narcissism. And there's a spirit that's inside of the oak tree that's making the oak. Same in our bodies, except we're holding a lot of different flavors because we are an instrument. We are a vessel. So we've got our spirit, but I do believe that within our spirit, there are different energetics and beings that can sometimes be in our bodies, take over. And I wrote a post about this about a week ago. And one of the things I talked about is that over time, certain beings, we're all very porous, meaning there's a lot of porousness, a lot of space in our bodies. There's both containment and porousness. But I think when a body begins to get weakened mentally and physically, it becomes more and more and more porous, less concrete, less boundaried. And especially if there's mental illness, it becomes more available to different energetics coming in and out.
I've seen that.
Yeah, you've seen. I think a lot of people can think about someone in their life that over time started to get weakened and then something else started to take over. And this gets passed through lineages. So there can be a specific energetic or entity that has been going from person to person to person inside of a lineage, not because it's trying to destroy you, not because it's trying to take you over, but because it wants to be fully experienced and felt to completion to be free. So when there's finally a vessel that's been practicing embodied boundaries, energetic boundaries, knows that balance between containment and porousness, like knows how to tighten up and not be so available to take in everything from the world. You know, the empaths can struggle with this because they're going so into the feeling of all the different things in the world that they can tip into narcissism when it actually becomes all about them and how they don't know how to process things. So now they're taking energy from the room rather than like, oh, I feel everyone's energy because I love you. It's actually, I feel everyone's energy. Everyone look at me now. So that's an example of porousness where empaths have to learn how to feel what's alive, but also be incredibly attuned to their own body and your body, energetic boundaries for the betterment of all. So anyways, as the bodies become more and more porous, they're more available. And that's a self-fulfilling prophecy where it just continues to weaken and weaken and weaken and weaken until you start to really lose sanity. And so in shadow work, the way that I like to facilitate it and set it up is that you find the thing that continues to be passed through the lineage, the thing that nobody, like, you don't want to have. You know, there are certain qualities in my family that I do not want to touch because I am not like that. They're like that. That's their shit. But the interesting thing is that oftentimes in families, like let's say you have a mother that has, let's say like borderline, you know, and there's kind of a push and pull dynamic of love. Daughter or son grows up. They've been raised their whole life with this push and pull. They don't like it. They want sustainable, nice, deep love, want to repattern love. But because they experience love as a push and pull dynamic, they've created a fearful relationship with love. And then they start to become the very thing that they want to get away from. They find someone, they fall in love, and all they know is push and pull. So they start to push and pull. It's not because they received that in their DNA necessarily, but because like that entity was so full in their life that all they know is loving in such a way, and they've created a pattern. So whatever that thing is that you definitely don't have, creating sacred theater so that you get to sacred and in sacred theater fully allow that energy and that entity to inhabit your entire vessel and then enact what it has to say, what it has to do, the shape that it needs to take in order for it to be fully felt to completion. At least for 3 minutes. And it's pretty intense. It's very intense. Like if you're really, 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 really going there. I've channeled some things that were afterwards, I was truly shaking because my body wasn't, it was a shock to hold that specific flavor. And it takes bravery. It takes a tight container. Like really doing shadow work in this way, it takes a really tight container, ultimately, ideally held for you.
I was going to say, I feel like this is something that, you know, either one-on-one and or in a very intentional setting with the space being held, because this is deep, even, yes, it's energetic and it's lineage, but it's also there's a lot that comes up in the psyche when we're looking at these things. And so, yeah, having that space held, I think, is so important. It's kind of hard to guide yourself really.
It's not the same.
Yeah.
It's not the same. It's not the same. Because again, like you're missing the element of like
Witnessing,
the
being
witness
witnessed.
and someone, you can if you're holding it, it's hard to go super, super, super deep. It's like, that is the beauty of a container. Like, yes, you want your body to be a strong vessel, and somebody else's vessel holding your vessel is like really the thing that's going to allow for you to let go, to do the work.
Yeah. Yeah. I do a lot of inner child healing and internal family systems. And it's like both for me to be able to be held in that, and then also to hold my clients in that. And I think this is actually brings us back even to the conversation around, you know, AI and ChatGPT. Like there's just going to be certain things that aren't able to be replicated because ChatGPT and AI doesn't have a nervous system. And there's also a co-regulation, and there's a shared lived experience, right? That doesn't translate words into the body. So I think these types of immersive experiences that you're talking about and being in these sacred containers, I believe that that is going to continue to be a very important part of healing and transformation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you were saying that, I was like, I don't know. I was quite literally like watching ChatGPT grow a nervous system. I was like, I don't know about that. Like maybe it's somehow because
Maybe
like,
one
it's like
day.
the network. Like I can just see over time, like all the see the spinal cortex fluid, whatever. It's got to start to grow. Who knows?
We'll be here to witness it, but I'm gonna be on this path for a long time.
There's a really great podcast by Josh Shree of the Emerald podcast. I talk about this.
Yeah, I've heard about it.
Constantly on every podcast. You gotta go listen. It's amazing. But he has one called So You Want to Be a Sorcerer in the Age of Magic or something like that. And it's about AI, and it's top listen.
Gonna have to
anybody
listen to
that's
that.
interested. Yeah.
When I listen to his podcast, I literally have to re-listen, or I have to pause to like take it in, because I'm like, whoa, this is next level.
I'll play it always like one time through, and then I go back in, and I often do it like 3 times. I'll like listen 3 times.
Wow.
If I can to each one.
Devoted listener. I love it.
There's one, the Trickster one. Trickster is very near and dear to my heart. He has a Trickster episode I think I've listened to like 10 times. Wow. Just like want to know every single thing I possibly can about Trickster.
Yeah.
He does such a great job.
Yeah. So for those of you who want to listen to it, it's called the Emerald Podcast. Yeah. Well, I think we're coming to our descent. I have so much more that I want to talk to you about. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your presence. I really felt your deep presence here. And just, I'm really loving getting to know you more, the way that you think, the way that you be. And just really grateful for the teacher that you are. I really see your devotion to being an excellent teacher. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on in your beautiful studio. It's been so sweet to finally be able to drop in with you.
Thank you. And for our listeners who want to go deeper and want to continue exploring your world, what are you up to and where can they find you?
Yeah, so I'm always on Instagram, Madelyn Moon, and my website's maddiemoon.com. And I have a signature event called Unbound, which I normally run twice a year. I highly recommend it. It's like my favorite thing I've ever done. It is such a vibe. And it's only 3 days, but it's going to be the deepest 3 days of your year. And then I have a membership called Unhinged and a facilitator training in the works.
Beautiful.
So I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, I'll be on the lookout for that. Thank you so much. We'll include all of that in the show notes. And I'm excited for the feminine frequency community to continue learning from you.
Thank you.
Yeah.